Welcome, friend. I'm at the Advent Health Winter Park. Yeah. I've been here a week now. Welcome, Luis Del Pino. How are you?
Jairo, you're looking better than ever.
I am.
Yes, you lost weight. You getting they're getting you in shape over there. That's wonderful.
We have special guest Rami Kutene,
Wow.
favorite
Yep.
philosopher of political science and of whatever.
Yeah,
right. Good morning.
Yes, it's Jairo from his hospital bed and Luis Del Pino from his socialist hangout. Yeah, and pneumonia, and it's funny when you said bad blood, because that's exactly what they told the participants in the famous Tuskegee syphilis study. For 35 years, they used that as the line, as an excuse,
Rami,
in order not to treat.
Be quiet right now. Right now. You be quiet. You don't say that like that to someone who's in the hospital.
I'm sorry, Jairo. My mother.
You use better judgment, more
too.
compassion, and more confidence.
Mother,
You don't.
how are you?
I'm good. I'm just writing.
I heard the word compassion.
This is my mom.
Yeah,
Oh.
she doesn't believe in conspiracy theories unless they
Good
relate
morning.
to her personally.
Well, I'm very, very happy to make acquaintance of Rami's mother.
Thank you.
I have two words for 2021: ataraxia and compassion. That's the only two things that are going to get us out of the hole.
Ataraxia.
Yes.
That sounds like a disease, anorexia.
No. It's not a disease. It's the cure for all diseases.
Oh,
Ataraxia. Ataraxia. Peace of mind.
how do you spell that?
ATARAXIA. Ataraxia. The A is non, and taraxia is non being stressed, no anxiety, no disharmony in the mind, just peace of mind, contentment.
Ataraxia is stress, and is the negative of it.
That's right.
That's what we all need.
That's what we all need. How the heck do we get there? I have some ideas. Anyone that is interested in the subject, I will just go ahead and talk about it. It's just become.
He'll infect you with his spirit.
Can somebody be obsessed with ataraxia?
Ataraxia. No, but we need stress. We need some stress to move us.
Well, if we did not know stress, we would not know ataraxia.
Some ataraxia is indication that there's something amiss in the surroundings, so we move away from it.
That's right.
Or something that will reduce the ataraxia, like hunger. That's a signal indicating that maybe we need to eat something.
To eat.
So
yes.
that's ataraxia. So if we eliminate the stress of hunger, we might starve to death.
It is clear that the fact of being is taraxia. So being is taraxia. Any thinker out there already made the point. Life is stressful.
David Norton.
Being is a dynamic interplay of having, not having, liking, disliking, etc. So, it existentialism should explain at the outset that being is being annoyed. It's
Let
that
David
axia.
Norton-
And then within
David
being
Norton-
and non-being, that's where the mind comes in going like, okay, what do I do with this? The mind is a prisoner of the dipole of attraction and repulsion. That's all we do all the time. I like, I
David
dislike, I like, I
Norton.
dislike, I like, I dislike.
Welcome, David Norton. It's great to see you.
Good morning, David.
Your audio's off, David.
And
So Jairo's on oxygen?
yes, I'm on oxygen.
He's on a diet too. He lost like 25 pounds. He's looking much better.
He never was fat. What are you talking about?
He was plump.
He carried it in his legs.
I still have a little bit, pot belly.
See?
Are you in the hospital, Jairo?
Yes, maybe I've lost some muscle mass.
No.
What hospital are you in?
In Winter Park, Advent Health, they're taking very good care of me.
Jairo, the last thing you lose is muscle mass. The first thing you lose is fat. So don't worry about it. You're not.
All right. Once again, Luis shows that he is capable of giving straight-faced lies because it's muscle mass that goes before fat. Fat's the last thing that leaves you.
What?
I need
Yeah,
some
you're
data
right.
on that. Let's go ahead
Right,
and go to
Rami.
the data. Let's go to the data.
Smoking like a true lefty. It can be manipulated.
Listen,
Also,
you started,
you can hold up the data and lie with any statistic.
Rami. You started by saying that I'm in the socialist holdout. I think you called it. I am not a socialist.
Well, no, you're more of a
I am.
totalitarian. Oh,
I am. I am a humanist. I am a humanist.
Okay, but what influences you?
What influences me? That's a very good question. Knowledge,
Of
whatever.
whatever. Okay.
Knowledge of I am what I see and what I process, and then what I act according to. So basically, deliberation is what is the basis of my thinking, my feeling, my doing, my non-doing.
Yes. Okay. So we're all familiar here with the parable of Plato's cave, or the analogy of the story.
Let's not crawl in the.
No. We are. This is very
I
important.
think it's time we all crawled out of it.
We all have our unique experiences, but how long have you been stuck in the cave, Luis?
20 years.
40 years?
20.
20.
I started kind of considering the idea of the cave. That means asking questions about 20 years ago.
Okay.
Before I was just a regular guy, just trying to make a buck and, paying for the tires and growing my family and taking care of myself and my family. But I didn't even know how to do that. I didn't think. So 20 years or
Okay.
So 20
So
years you've been out of the cave?
20 years of staring at the cave's priest, casting shadows on the wall and reacting, responding to all this whatever.
No, 20 years when I realized that what was in the cave and the projections were projections.
Okay.
So
what if you escape the simulation, or what you think is the simulation, only to find yourself in another simulation that was there to fool you into thinking that you escaped the simulation?
Very good. All being is, in a sense, a simulation, because their reality exhibits two qualities or two aspects. One is phenomenal and the other one is non-phenomenal. Phenomenal is anything you can see, measure, touch, conceive, even think. Our mind, which is not material, is still phenomenal because you're thinking.
Okay,
So it is a perception, but there's the non-phenomenal side of reality, where anything that is phenomenal is, in a sense, an illusion or virtual or just an aspect,
Okay,
but
so
not the essence.
you introduced an interesting concept. Well, I don't know if it's interesting, but you said our minds, which makes you sort of an authority, and you said that it's not phenomenal or not based in physical.
Well, the mind is not material per se. The thinking process, you can't touch it. You know,
Right,
it's not material. It's intangible. It's intangible. But it is still but it's still phenomenal in the sense that the mind knows that it is thinking. You know, it perceives itself, and that perception means that the mind is a phenomenal aspect of reality. Anything phenomenal is perceivable in a sense.
Anything phenomenal is perceivable.
Yes.
That's fine. But pull back here. I have to ask, how do you know that you're just not in the larger simulation? And also, is there an end to the simulations?
So there is no end, because I propose that reality is infinite and eternal. There's no beginning, there is no end. It is a never starting, never ending process, a dynamic process of being and non-being, like a zero turning into a one and a one turning into a zero.
Okay.
At different scales.
Okay. You started
so that's
with.
And then of course that means that the simulation goes to infinity. Yes.
Okay. So you said there is no end, and you started with the I posit. So this is your trap that you're in, right? This is
yeah. That's my worldview. That's my
sure.
my take on being and non-being. But you know, it's
so let me ask,
mine.
What if the eternal is the end?
And non-being too. So that's the deal. So non-being is as eternal as being.
Okay.
And being is not being without non-being, because if being was only
okay, hold
being,
on, slow down, because you're talking so fast. You said being is not being.
No, you said the eternal is being, or being is eternal.
I said what if the eternal is the end?
There is no end in eternity.
Okay, but you're saying there is no end based upon your worldview.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Can you accept a worldview that states the eternal is the end?
The end of what?
Well, as a subset of the what, life, the universe, and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But in essence, the end. And also the beginning.
Yeah. So the end is the beginning is in the end.
What I'm doing here is giving you bounds and something absolute.
Yeah.
Because the absolute can be a great help it is a great help for many, many people around the world. But not only that, but it is a place of comfort and ultimate coolness, which is my best definition of the word that you introduced today.
Indeed. I agree. Ataraxia, precisely the coolness and feeling good and feel at ease and feeling not stressed out or in anxiety. That means that you feel harmonic and coherent with yourself and the rest, so that you see no conflict anywhere. There's a harmony. Is, in my case, is derived from the fact that there is no end and no beginning, that everything is a dynamic interplay of zeros and ones to infinity and to eternity.
Okay, where do those zeros and ones
come from?
Phenom. Where do they phenom?
Well, if you describe reality as being a phenomenal and non-phenomenal at the same time, or phenomenal and noumenal, you can use that word. A few people have used that, noumenal, the noumenon and the phenomenon, or phenomena. So they are the same thing. They are the same reality, but they look different. So let's put it this way: there is in my worldview, again, there is one reality. I call it reality because I don't know what else to call it. There is one being, and not being in a sense of an entity, but of being in the sense of a word, of an activity. There is a process, a dynamic process. You can call that reality. And there's only one. There's only one, precisely because there's no beginning and no end. So basically,
You're
anything
repeating your
within.
dogma again.
I'm sorry.
You're repeating your dogma again.
Yeah, but I'm trying to express it in different words to see if I can at least explain myself better. Because it's kind of weird to say that there is one reality that has no beginning and no end. Because you already saying like how can you say that? How can you prove that? And it's the worldview itself, the bias, the cognitive bias that I apply to being, which is the its own explanation. In a sense, it's autotelic, self-serving, self-explaining. So if I say there is one reality and only one, you're going to ask, how do you know that? And I say, well, there must be only one reality because the reality that I'm talking about is a dynamic interplay that has two aspects, two basic aspects, which is the non-phenomenal and the phenomenal aspect. If you call the zero state or the vacuum state the non-phenomenal aspect of reality, which is zero, and then anything other than zero, empty space, empty, complete vacuum, the 0 Kelvin, anything other than the 0 Kelvin is phenomenal, then I can just explain reality as a series of zeros and ones, which is what quantum mechanics is telling me.
Okay,
Yeah, but
so
that's your reality.
you're right.
Yes,
That's
yes,
your
yes,
reality.
yeah, always, always.
Yeah, but
And
then
this
there's
is,
not, there's more than one reality, because the thing is, everybody has their own reality. You go back to the cave, and inside the cave, everybody
yes,
sees something different,
but
even though
is
it
your
may be the
reality
same.
made up of zeros and ones, just like my reality is made up of zeros and ones?
Zeros and
Or
ones.
is it
What's
made of
that?
something different? I
You
mean,
see,
in essence, what you're talking about is the reality, is the worldview. There are many worldviews, but there's only one world. Uh, 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 so the worldviews are made up of the world, because we are not none other than the world thinking about itself. We are not different from the world. We're not outside the world. We are the world thinking of itself. So is my world, my worldview may be different that from yours, absolutely, but is the world the same? We are the same world. There's only one world, or do you belong to a different world than I do? Because when I look at the around, we look at a tree, we see the same tree. When we look at the Rami, we see the same Rami. We may think differently. We view him differently. That's a different story. But he is the same Rami. So if we look at reality, we're looking at the same reality.
okay, Luis Del Pino is something of a solipsistic black hole.
For sure. For sure. For sure. Because if reality thinks about itself, just think about it. The questions you asked first about eternity and infinity, that everything it goes to infinite, thinking about thinking about thinking. It's just like you looking at yourself in the mirror and putting another mirror behind you. How
And,
many Ramis do you see?
and
Infinity.
the more that he talks, the more it's like all that he can do is try to draw you into his worldview, which is in itself his own personal illusion.
Yeah, well, I don't try to draw anybody into it. I just share my worldview with other worldviews, but
I've noticed it.
I don't try to convince anybody. That's for sure. I'm,
But
I'm
every time you speak, it's just a repetition of the same thing again and again
what
and again.
I mean. Yeah, we're only talking about reality. There's only one, which we have to look at it from different perspectives, but we're always talking about the same thing.
Yes, but what do you mean by thing? And what you
Eh,
mean by thing is what you mean by thing as you understand thing.
Yes. So there is a thing, and in my understanding, it is everything and nothing at the same time, everywhere, and all the time. So
It
that's the
seems
thing.
total, but it isn't.
It's the thing itself, right? What did Kant say? The thing in and of itself, the noumenon, the thing itself. That's what I talk about. But I talk about it about from my worldview, and I understand every time that somebody says, "Hey, that's your view," I say, "Yes, that's my view. What is yours? What is yours? What makes you tick? What gives you ataraxia? What makes you feel good? What gives you answers to your questions? Even if it's a solipsistic answer, I don't have a problem with it. I know this is reality looking at itself through different minds. So hence different views, because uh, at the conventional side, everything is relative. So if reality is the absolute, anything that is said about reality has to be relative.
From one convention, everything is relative, but from another convention, the world is composed of the relative and the absolute.
So what is your convention? Is the world relative and absolute at the same time?
There are aspects of each.
There you go. I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you. Again, I see reality as a one. Without an exit, there's no exit to reality. There's only one. If what would you go into if you stepped out of reality?
Okay,
Another
so-
reality?
The Twilight Zone.
Oh, in the Brahmanic, in the Hindu sense, you'd no longer be pouring yourself into Atman. You'd be in Brahma.
Brahman.
But that that's within that context. There are other contexts.
But it's the same it's the same kind of thinking with different words. Jesus, Jesus, the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost, and the Holy Mother is the same thing with different names and different concepts. Me and my Father are one. This kingdom is not. I'm not this kingdom or the other one. He's talking about the non-phenomenal versus the phenomenal, the absolute versus the relative. It's all the same thing.
Is it?
However you dice it, and no matter what words and ideas you throw at it, we're all talking about the same one thing, which is reality as a whole.
Hey, let me take in, you mentioned Jesus. Let me share a story with you that he said himself that deals exactly with what you're talking about. And it's in John in chapter 4, where he's talking, where it says there was a guy that had a daughter or son or somebody that was really, really sick. And when he heard Jesus was coming into Judea, into Galilee, he went to him and besought him to come down and heal his son, for he was at the point of death. And then Jesus said to him, "Except you see signs and wonders, you will not believe." So the nobleman said to him, "Sir, come down and my child will die." And Jesus said to him, "Go away, your son liveth." And the man believed the word that Jesus had spoken to him, and he went down on his way, and his son was still living. The thing is, there's a phenomena in belief that Jesus brings across there, that the man believed in the fact that his son would still live by contacting Jesus, because of the fact that Jesus had superpowers. So the thing is, you have that phenomenon of not only belief in Jesus himself, but there was a belief in the fact that his son would still live. Okay. And that sort of thing happens. And one thing that is pointed out into this, Jesus said to him, and I think this is more important than anything, unless you see signs and also wonders, you really won't believe in what is reality. Okay, that's what he's saying. So, the thing is, in the substance, the phenomenon of him actually being healed was through belief in the fact that it could be done. So the thing is, it goes beyond the perception of one person looking at one item. And this here little parable, represents many different items that we actually see. And when you look at the word wonder, okay, it goes back into a fact of wonder actually means a prodigy. And when you look at a prodigy, what is a prodigy? A prodigy is often looked at someone that, that teaches you something that really sticks in your mind. But it's also an event that can stick in your mind too. So when you're going through life and you see different things that happen to you that stick in your mind, okay? Those are parts of nature actually talking to you. But some people will take, instead of looking at the nature talking to them, look at people talking to them, and the people become their prodigy, whether they're part of a government or part of a learning system or part of an interest that a person has in things. And therefore, what happens is they forget about the natural phenomenon that occurs through just absolute belief in something that exists. So just a point to throw out.
I think it's a very good point. I think it's excellent,
Absolutely.
especially
Absolutely.
considering, you know, how many people are willing to buy in to false beliefs, false information.
Yeah, well, it happens, especially right now. Take, for example, like Jairo being in a hospital, you know, with the COVID. You know, the thing is, there's been many signs that are not made public through our media about different therapies for COVID, you know, and there's many things that can be used to actually cure it. But instead, at the forefront, you have, you know, the media and everything trying to scare the daylights out of everybody about this disease, you know. And it's really ironic because I go back to when Jairo first sent out the notice that he had thought he might had COVID, and he was there at the Winter Park Hospital. Oddly, that very same day, my brother was at the Winter Park Hospital too, and he had a huge mass that was taken out of his stomach. And you know, the thing is, he's in much worse condition than Jairo is right now. But you know, the thing is, there are other things that happen in life that sometimes maybe sort of coincidences too. I thought it was rather a coincidence that Jairo's at Winter Park Hospital at the same time my brother was, you know, and the thing is what that understanding and what that might mean, you know, I don't know. But I do know that, you know, COVID, you know, the thing is, I think it's necessary for us to look at the signs of what is out there for the therapies of COVID and look at its reality rather than what we're being told through the medical community. Actually, the political community more than the medical community, because the medical community, I believe, has a handle on COVID and is being handled properly. You know, just like look at Jairo, he's getting better now, right?
Looking better than ever.
Yeah, I know, right? So he's
Jairo's a unit in a mass economic driving system.
Yeah, I guess you could say that.
That's a nice way to describe a human being.
Jairo,
Okay.
I'm going for my walk. You take care. It's so good to see you. I hope you recover completely. We had it all back in like early mid-March. And the only effect it's had on me is kind of a brain fog. I really haven't written any good poems, and I've let my mail stack up. I used to be very neat in my room, and it's been like 10 or 11 months since I just threw everything away.
I would like to read your favorite poem.
Okay.
May I?
Sure.
Rami, you have a to-do. You have to share your mother's favorite poem.
Which one would be your favorite?
That one right there.
This one right here?
This one I wrote, it's just
Conduct Unbecoming.
That's a good start.
To think, that's the title. To think, therefore to be. How boring.
She's right up my
catch
alley.
A wave,
I love it already.
Slave is me. And in our infinite glory, in reverberating passion, we catch a glimpse of flaming windows and land, the panache of finality. But we are never over, and over is over roaring. For we are mere twinkle children, pinched with the flavor of marrow into the dough of his grace.
That's beautiful. That is that's absolutely beautiful.
I read it, Austin.
That is absolutely beautiful. It's right up my alley.
Yeah.
I could mince every sentence and every word into this worldview, this crazy worldview of mine. Yeah. I understand it perfectly. It just got to the very core of my understanding and my knowing. So beautiful, beautiful.
It's kind of like, you know, one of those naval poems. complete unable and you disappear up your own butt. That's just being crude. I gotta go for a walk and mail this. You take care, y'all.
You too.
Enjoy Rami. My mother, when he was 3, I took him over there for her to babysitting, and she was watering. She was pretty, pretty much gardener. She belonged to a gardening club at St. Andrews for years. So she's watering her Boston ferns and the roses and everything. And Rami's got the hose, and she turned around and he disappeared. He's over in the neighbor's yard watering there. And he scared the bejesus out of her because he's 3 years old. And she never forgot that. That's when we knew Rami was special.
Just another human being. Rami, there are 2 books that, if you have the time and the inclination, I would like you to look into. One is they're the same author, actually, Colin Wilson. He's a British author. Was very big in the 40s and 50s. Actually, I think it was in the 50s. He wrote The Outsider, and then he wrote a series of books that had to do with the same theme. And the other one that I really enjoyed is The New Existentialism. And I think you'll enjoy that. And by your mother's poem, I think she will enjoy that too.
Thank you.
The Outsider and The New Existentialism by Colin Wilson.
Okay, good.
So now, what are we going to talk about? We have 30 minutes left.
Jairo, I got a question for you.
Yeah, so this runs until 9. So after Luis leaves at 8, we can talk about Ramiism and David Nortonism.
Jairo,
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it now. What do you mean? Why do we have to wait to talk about that?
well, David Nortonism is real simple. You walk out the door and you live what's happening at the moment. And you jump on the computer, and whatever your interest is, you take and you go there and learn what you can, because yourself is your own guide.
Let me ask you this, David, or Rami. Well, I think Rami. I don't think Jairo has a problem with me. He never complains about my ramblings. But what you're saying there is just go out there, live life, and just don't ask too many questions.
No, just the opposite.
Well, is my worldview fastidious to either of you? And if it is, in which sense? How is it fastidious? How is it bothering?
What do you mean by fastidious? Define that, please.
Fastidious is from the Spanish fastidiar. Fastidiar is to annoy. Is it annoying to hear someone talk about one reality, eternal, infinite, and with 2 aspects, and that everything is just like that, and that there's no way out, there's no way in, and that the mind is actually reality looking at itself, beholding itself with a certain degree of accuracy?
No, it's not annoying, but it's very repetitive.
Well, yes. Unfortunately, yes. I have a tendency to put every little thing into that bigger box because it's so comfortable. It's so big that it's very comfortable to go into it, and that's where I find my peace of mind. Actually,
yeah, that's your cave.
I am a human being just like any other human being, but I do notice one thing is that my worldview allows me to have a I don't know what I call it. Well, maybe I should talk about ataraxia. I just feel, Abraham Maslow talked about the plateau experience. Somebody that's constantly out there as if you were on the top of the Himalaya, just looking out in the clouds and going and saying, okay, this is it. I am it. I've got it. A constant eureka moment. And I feel like that, well, when I'm talking to my boss, while I'm doing commercial transactions, managing the business, fixing problems, putting out fires, driving on I-4. So I say, well, I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, but I'm very happy crazy.
Nothing wrong with that. It's
But
good.
I see many times people look at me like, you are toast. What's wrong with you? Where do you come from? What are you talking about? So that's why I'm asking.
I have a reading recommendation for you, Luis. Since
Aha.
you gave me an author, I give
I have
you.
a pen and paper.
I recommend reading some George Berkeley.
George Berkeley, not familiar.
Bekeley.
Bekeley.
Ley.
Berkeley. Okay.
All right.
And what is the title?
Isn't there an R in there?
I'm sorry?
Isn't there an R in the Berkeley?
Berkeley. Let me see. I so often depend upon the digital tools. Let me ask.
That's us anymore.
Jairo is correct. Thank you for correcting.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Berkeley.
Yeah,
I love people with such fine ears as Jairo. This is why you have to survive.
That's why I talk to him all the time. It keeps me straight.
Jairo's good. He's got a lot of
So
questions.
what's the
So
title
I
of the
recommend
book?
starting with A New Theory of Vision.
I like it already.
It's a dialogue between characters that he created. It's wonderful. It's in that old Greek style.
And anything after that one, just in case?
That's gonna be big enough for you for now.
Okay. All right. I'll go at it.
Can he cheat by going straight to the Wikipedia?
No,
That's
you
the
want
first thing I'm gonna. That's the first thing I'm gonna do.
There are better summaries than Wikipedia. Plus, Wikipedia is edited by people with agendas.
Yep,
So-
absolutely. So they sort of frame your mind and teach you how to think in their way.
Well,
But if you know that, it won't affect you. As a matter of fact, it will make you wiser.
well, not necessarily, because what it'll do is limit. You could be spending your time actually getting the knowledge versus a minimized or a blinder's version of it.
No, I always like to read the words from the author, but I also like to see the historical, cultural background. Because it's important to know who you're reading and why they're writing what they're writing. So if you read somebody that was in Paris in 1789, that frames a little bit. Oh yeah, there was a revolution. There was social injustice. People were starving in the streets. There was a nasty king out there, et cetera, et cetera. So it's good to know the author, read the author, and then study around the author. Because if you don't know the author, the background, just sometimes the author himself will bias you. So that's why I like this super perspectivism, where I look at everything and everybody, and then I make up my mind.
It's a beautiful morning in Winter Park.
Yeah,
Nice.
Eastbound window, Jairo?
Yeah, nice view. Like, hey, you need to change your room. That's ridiculous. That reminds me of cheap hotels that I used to stay at when I was on the road all the time.
But you can see the beauty in that, can't you, Jairo?
It's beautiful. I can almost see the sun coming up.
Oh, lovely.
You're
It
lucky
looks
you
like
can
I'm
see
in
the
a-
sky.
I look like I'm in a prison.
Yes. Where are
This
the
is like
guards?
Plato's cave.
Yeah. Well, you got your own right there, Jairo.
All right. Esse is percipi. To be is to be perceived. Right there. Like we just talked about that. Phenomena is anything that can be perceived. So the mind is also a phenomenon.
You're
It may
still
not be. Yeah, I'm telling you, this is nice. I'm already hooked up.
Remember, it's not there to support your worldview.
it's funny that you would say that. I always try to read and exchange more and share more to see if somebody can prove me wrong. I'm very scientific in my ways because it has to be just like any theory, right? You have to be able to question it, deconstruct it, talk about it, and see if there is any holes. You know, is something inconsistent in my worldview? Is it possible that reality is not infinite? Is it possible that it is not eternal? That means that is it possible that there was a beginning and it will be an end to reality?
But
Those are
what do you,
questions that I really, I mean, in my worldview, I'm pretty clear. My theory is
but
pretty
what,
strong, but
but
I'm
what do
always trying
you
to.
mean? But what do you mean by is reality infinite? Is in what dimensions? Is it in time, in space, or both? Or there's
Both,
countless
both,
dimensions, even
both. Now,
fractions
okay,
of dimensions.
okay, so
It could be
that's a
the
good
1.5
question.
dimension.
Yeah, it's a very good question. If reality was just one dimension, it
And
would
then
be a line. It would be a line without dimension because one dimension means that you have a line, but it has no dimensionality. It has no diameter. It has no circumference. It's just a mental idea of a series of points. Yeah, following one after the other without dimension because they are dimensionless points, and they form a one dimension. You know, so it's a very good question. How many dimensions are in reality? To my knowledge, there are four, but according to the M theory, it has about 10 or 11. Uh, but does it matter? Because if I establish that reality is infinite and eternal, does it matter how in the phenomenal side of it, in the structural side of
and
it,
then
how is it organized?
and then what would it look like if it wasn't infinite and eternal?
Ah,
Does that mean
very
they
good
have a
question.
beginning and an end?
Yes,
And then if you go far enough into space, then you hit a wall,
yes.
sort of
Let's
like
see. Those are
Truman's
very good
Truman
questions,
Show.
and people don't ask those. But what happened? Let's think for a second that we travel for an infinite time, and we look and we open our eyes after traveling an infinite time in one direction or any direction. It doesn't matter, but it's better to think one direction because if you travel in different directions, you could end up in the same place where you were to begin with.
Yeah, maybe
And they
you
would
end
say,
up
"Hey,
in the
hey, you
same
turned
place.
around, so you didn't go to the end." So let's say that we travel at the maximum speed, which I think has been established as the speed of light, for an infinite amount of time, and we open our eyes and our senses, and then we go, "Okay,
When do
let's
we
see what."
decide it looks like it's infinite? Let's go back home.
Well, see, let me follow this mind
The-
experiment, the
Can
thought experiment.
there could be a mathematical equation that shows that it's infinite, but then it can't be proven, or
Well,
maybe it could be indirectly proven, evidence could come up saying, yeah, that agrees with that.
well,
Okay, so
let's
continue,
yeah.
continue believing that
Well,
until
let's
otherwise something else comes up that says no, it's not like that.
okay. Let's
But,
assume for a
how
second.
does that
Let's just
help in living? It doesn't seem to help in living because
mm,
people can live without thinking about that, or can they? Like, Rami, do you think
absolutely,
about those things? David, do you think
absolutely,
about those things?
absolutely. You don't need to think in these terms to live. Absolutely. So you can go about your, I wake up in the morning, brush your teeth if you
Oh,
want to, have breakfast if you want
well,
to.
Rami, what about your concept of God? Is God infinite or finite? There's the ideas of omnipotent, omniscient, and all these things. Is that comparable to being infinite?
Better than those words, God is almighty.
Almighty, almighty. What does
Superman,
that mean?
like a Superman.
Well, the thing is, let me just share along with that, with what Rami is saying. is that you go back and look at the identification that God defines himself is that I am that I am. In other words, he's all nature, all universe, he's everything. And the thing is, it's basically defining everything that exists in life, period. You
And
know,
it doesn't exist.
well, the
That's,
thing is,
in the
no,
creed, it says that everything that is made and not made,
What's that?
visible and invisible. That's the creed of the Romans.
Creeds are human-made constructs.
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
you can't. How do you define and put the universe into a box? And the same would be true with God. How do you
I
take
don't.
and put God into a box? You know,
I don't
I mean,
put the
thing is-
universe in a box. That's why
Huh?
I could nickname a reality God, but I don't, because immediately the memes take over and people think I'm talking about a guy with a beard and a staff, but or a beer and a staff. I equate reality and the concept of God exactly the same: eternal, infinite, 100% natural. Yes.
So you say the same thing I just said.
Yes,
Okay, so
I just call it reality, so we don't have any ideas that it's a guy out there that made everything.
on the first page of a particular thread on the original Orlando meetup philosophy group, Plato's Cave, as far as we know, that Jairo is a big fan of, called New File, on the question of the existence of God. In that very first, I forget how many pages, perhaps 26 or so, maybe 28 pages worth of discussion board threads.
Yes, it's amazing.
Right on that first page, it took a few months, but I figured out that you cannot equate God with reality. And the reason why is you have to be able to test your reality. We are the ones being tested here. It's not
Yeah,
us
that's true.
testing God.
Yeah, that's right. Because it's just sort of like the the story I read about that Jesus had with the guy wanting his son healed. I mean, the thing is, it's up to the reality of that person that's being tested as to his belief and the reality that his son would actually be healed. So the thing is, it becomes an individual test for everybody with their relationship to whatever you define as God, whether it be reality or the universe or whatever may be there. But it has specifics to the point of where each person is living and each person is tested as to their own reality versus the reality of existence.
My question to you, Rami, we have to test reality. Do we have to test God? Does God test himself or herself or itself, or can it? So God can test itself?
No way.
Yes, God did test himself through his son.
Yeah, right. In that respect, yes.
And through us, we are his sons too. So God is testing us through us, right?
So we are testing reality and God ourselves.
No,
Yeah.
God is testing us. That's the difference. This is why
Right.
you'll understand more once you've gotten through a new theory of vision.
Okay.
Oh,
If there is a God, I am it.
Okay, yeah. Well, I mean, you're saying something that people have been saying all throughout time. Who was the guy who said about life being brutish? Famous political philosopher. Anyway, he had this saying, hell is knowing too late.
How is knowing what?
Hell is knowing too late.
Oh, okay. So yeah. So if you don't believe, if you don't have faith, then you end up in hell and you don't know it because
Well, and there are
didn't get
living
the memo.
hells. There have been living hells on Earth, well documented throughout the 20th century. Imagine
Yes.
finding yourself in the gulag
Yeah.
because your country had turned into that place.
Yeah.
Right. Well, the thing is, what's sort of frustrating to me is like you use that word hell, Rami. The thing is, people are born and raised with two definitions of hell. One is the Hebrew definition, and the other is the Greek definition. The Hebrew definition is straight out Gehenna, okay,
Yeah,
which
great.
actually means the pride of ourselves. In other
Mm.
words, we take our own selves to our own hell. And then the other definition is Hades, which is a position that some people have imagined that people go to, when they're dead, period, And there's all kinds of stories as to how, that turns out, And the thing is that there's, to me, more of a fantasy of reality than anything else, where you go to the real Greek understanding of hell, and it's very specific, and it not only applies to individuals, but it applies to governments, it applies to groups. I mean, it applies to everything across the board, because hell is actually found within inside of, first of all, beginning myself, and then second of all, the community that I live in, then the state that I live in, the country I live in, the world that I live in. It just becomes expanded out, and that's what we're being exposed to right now in this time of, I don't know what the hell you call it.
So the expression "I'll see you all in hell" could be changed to "I see you all in hell."
I didn't hear.
I don't
I heard you say the
Yeah.
same sentence twice, but with different.
No,
slight
well,
emphasis.
let me say it a little bit better because my accent is bad. The expression I will see you all in hell" could be changed to "I see you all in hell."
Sure. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Is there a worse hell than this one?
There are multiple levels according to Dante.
You must go down.
many-
You must go down the
many,
Hades side, huh?
Many religions have come up with various degrees, and
Is there a way out of hell?
certainly.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Well, it's
Come
just
on.
the opposite.
Hey,
of-
give me the key. If you give me the cell, give me the key.
It's just the opposite. It's called humility. Pride is the foundation of hell. Humility is the foundation of heaven.
Goodbye, guys.
That's it.
See you later.
Well,
if God existed and if he came to see me, little me, I would look at him and go, "Where the hell have you been all this time, you son of a bitch?"
well, maybe he's there and you just don't know it.
I am it.
It's
I am it. So when I look at myself in the mirror, I go, "What the hell are you doing? What's going on? What are you thinking? What are you intending?"
Well, I'd try to get out of that cave. Louise, because you can't see anything there. You can't see life.
Well, I don't know about that, but I feel like I feel free. Being God is a very good feeling.
Well, what's his name? Who is it? The guy over in China, Chairman Mao or whatever. He feels the same way too. Another one, so he can tell everybody what to do.
I don't tell any. See, I am God, but I don't tell anybody what to do. Only tell God what to do.
Luis, have you seen that picture of Lenin, Vladimir Lenin, at the end of his life when he's in the sanitarium and he's lost all the weight and his eyes are really wide?
Yes. No, but I don't tell anybody what to do or how to think. Although I am God in my own, because I say I am reality. So if I interchange God and reality as a term, I am God. I am everything and nothing at the same time. And I don't tell anybody what to do or how to think. I only tell myself what to do and what to think.
Well, every time you open your mouth and you say something to somebody, you're speaking you speak something literal. You're wanting somebody to believe what you believe.
Hey, blame God for that. He's the one who made everything.
Was that you?
Yes.
Okay, you can't. But here's the thing. This is what God did. He gave you the volition, the ability, the capability. You've got the mind. You've got the body. All these things you can attribute to God. Your physical matter. You own your you owe your physical existence to the Creator of the universe.
Yes.
However, in addition to all of that, He's also given you the ability to completely and utterly reject himself. God's made a very interesting universe.
How can you reach? Well, I mean, I understand your thinking. By the way, who gave God all his attributes?
All right, not you or I. These are discovered. These
Right.
are either revealed,
Listen, you
like truth
tried.
itself.
Yeah, you tried to take me to infinity in ripples of going outside, to try to get to infinity or eternity. So I am doing that right now by asking if there is a God, if there were a God, who or what gave God his attributes.
These would be
Well,
Self-given,
but you see, we
right?
in and of ourselves are so boring. Okay.
well, the thing is,
I don't think so. I don't feel boring, but
well, Luis, I go back to my original definition of God. When God, defines himself, I am that I am. In other words, he's defining the universe itself, all things within inside of the universe. And the thing is, I don't go away from that definition at all. So the thing is, when you take and try to put a personified God can't be personified, period. I mean, the thing is, people do that with the name of God, but then it's up to each individual to take and do their own definition of God.
can reality be personified?
Reality be personified? It is all the time by people.
It is. Is reality a person?
Is reality a person? Reality is personified by people all the time. Yes.
So is God.
That's not true. I mean, it is true if you accept that in your own heart and want to take and make God into a person.
I mean, he had a son. I mean, if that's not personified, I'll be darned.
Yeah, but the only thing is, you have to remember that most people don't read the Bible. They don't have any understanding of what's actually being said. The thing is, inside the context of the teachings of Jesus, it says that he spoke specifically in parables or metaphors or whatever. And when people try to take and literalize, his words and do that, they've lost the whole context of what's even being said, period. Because the thing is, everything, even in the Old Testament, is a parable to existence. It's not a parable to some person that thinks they're in charge of existence, like yourself. It's a parable to.
No, I'm not in charge of existence.
What?
I am not in charge of existence.
Well, you are in your own life.
I am.
You are in your own life.
Yeah, I am existence.
Right. That's what I know. You are in existence. That's true. We all are.
I am. Go ahead,
This is really good. You said something really good there, Luis. You said, I'm not in charge of existence. So one of the names for God is Alpha and Omega. He has created you. He has formed you out of dust. And when I say you, I could be speaking of mankind in whole.
Yeah.
And to dust you shall return.
Right.
So yes, that's a great recognition that you're not in charge of existence. The Omega, you will come to the end of your personal age, and mankind, our entire species, will come to an end as well. And at the end of the age, then what happens next happens next.
Yeah. So if reality is a process of being and non-being, right, with little beginnings, little beginnings, so the whole process is that a dynamic process of little beginnings and little ends. So you can call God the dynamic process between 0 and 1.
But there's a real usefulness in understanding when we acknowledge that very basic teaching we all got in elementary school of the idea of the noun. The noun, there are 3 parts. There are persons, there are places, there are things. You're wanting to take and mix and jumble these things up, but to have them as distinct concepts of noun, there's a real usefulness, a utility that's worth carrying forth through life.
There is no noun without verb, without adjective, without perception, without, there is no noun.
I don't know that we need adjective necessarily.
That's not true. That's not true at all, because the thing is, a single word, describes an event, period. And
but you need somebody to listen to it and somebody to utter it. So there's no there's no word in and of itself. You need
Yes, of
somebody
course you
to
need-
utter it and somebody to listen to it and somebody to understand it. Everything is just one thing,
Yeah, it's like boiling everything down to one thing too, which I
which
said in
is
one word, which is
the whole of
matter.
reality, which has
Ev-
no beginning and
No,
no
it's
end.
not reality. It's
Why
matter.
give intentionality to reality or God? Oh, what's it? If we say that reality is not eternal and infinite because there was something eternal and infinite before to make that little beginning and that little end, I just want to get to the end of it. I want to go to the source. I want to understand the very idea of something that is eternal, infinite, and from which everything goes and comes, and that is reality itself. Why put a motor to a system that moves just by itself?
Okay, so what you're asking or what you're saying is I want to pray. Now, there's a
Pray.
difference between praying, P-R-A-Y, pray, praying to an inanimate object or something material, and praying to the creator of the universe, the first cause to all that is and all that will be and all that has ever been.
Yeah, well,
Can we wait a minute? Okay, let's say that you say praying. I say I want to study the first cause, the verb. In the beginning, there was the verb. I want to study it. I want to know it scientifically. I don't want to pray to it. I don't want to bow down to it. I want to know it. I want to study. I want to get my facts together.
For what purpose, Luis?
Because I want to. Because it makes me tick.
okay,
You know, that's
But
I
how are
mean,
you going to know it unless you experience it?
that's right.
I am experiencing it. How can you
Okay.
experience something? How can you know something you do not experience?
Yes, exactly.
That's right.
There. So it follows that in studying what I experience, I am studying the source of it. I don't make a distinction. I don't put
Okay,
a
yeah, but
line.
you're trapped back in yourself again.
Well, I
Yeah.
don't put a dividing line between 100% natural, which is what I see and touch and measure and everything, reality, we'll call it whatever you want, and something beyond that line that is not 100%, not natural, it's supernatural, like almighty.
And that,
I just don't see that line of demarcation. I don't see a line anywhere, as a matter of fact. There's no line other than what you said. It's an imaginary line. It's a virtual line. It's a made believe line.
let me try to verbalize this a little bit, okay? You go back to the story that I told you about the man that went to Jesus to heal his son.
Mhm.
When you're talking about praying, when a person prays, okay, the actual definition in the Hebrew means to unite. So the thing is, for example, the guy that went to Jesus and prayed to Jesus, okay, to heal his son, he was actually uniting with Jesus Christ to have that issue taken care of. And when he found out that his son was healed, okay, that there was the sign, okay, of his belief, of praying, of uniting with Jesus Christ, that of the existence of the fact that the child was cured from whatever the problem was. I mean, these are things that have variations that apply in different manners, but they're a belief inside of a person's own mind. And the belief, actually, the things you believe, you're actually praying for, whether you believe it or not. So the thing is, whatever you think, it's sort of your confinement. It goes back to Plato's cave, where you're stuck in this here cave with your own beliefs of seeing whatever those things are. You cannot be open to things that are seen by people through different eyes because you're stuck in your own beliefs. I don't know if this makes any sense to you or not, but I mean that's the way I see it. You know, just like the guy
Yeah,
that went to Jesus and asked for his son or whatever to be healed, and the thing is, it happened because there's faith in said like
because now wait a minute,
he's
man.
also
Maybe
the
there
son
was
of
faith,
God.
maybe there wasn't, maybe he was making it up, maybe he was pretending. I don't know. But again, we agree that each mind is its own worldview, and we can only talk about it, compare notes, look at different perspectives, but at the end of the day, a mind is going to think what a mind is going to think. Actually,
Everybody's different.
reality looks at itself through each individual consciousness with a certain degree of clarity or perspective. But so in that regard, if somebody says, I believe there is a God Almighty that created everything and that is going to decide whether if I go to hell or heaven, I say, okay, it's fine. But I have my own view. I have my own view, and I don't propose such a thing. But I do propose the reality to be also eternally and infinite, like everybody thinks about God.
Yeah,
Here's
Rami.
here's the beauty of it, Luis. We decide whether or not we what our fate will be after the fact with how we choose, not by what we profess to believe, but how it is that we actually treat others.
Wow. So that's the only thing we can decide on, actually, because we cannot decide where we're born, how tall we are, if we're white or black or green or blue, if our parents are nice or nasty, our teacher, the education we get, if we pay a lot of taxes or little, if we live in Africa or in America. We don't decide anything, but the only thing we can decide is our eternal box, where we're going to be put.
Well,
and we don't even have a owner's manual. We don't even know exactly how to do it because everything is relative. It's like, hey, you have to be nice.
What we have is our response, and not there are forces that try to convince people that they don't have a response or that they don't have agency. So
I'm showing agency.
Well,
I'm saying no. This is all made. No, I disagree with this idea.
But in a Sartrean sort of no exit way.
But of course, there is no exit to reality. But as long as you are able to understand that and that you are it, so you are the cell, you are your prison and your own guardian and your own deliberator and liberator. So in a sense,
it's such a lonely world that you live in, Luis.
I'm telling you, I am everything. I feel very connected. I feel very connected to everybody and everything and nothing at the same time. You have no idea how connected I feel, since I know that I'm talking to myself, because I know that I am the whole of reality, and talking to you and David and Jairo, or to myself, I am the whole talking to the whole. I could not be any more connected.
But you're not whole, and nor are you the whole.
We can disagree on that.
Well, but you see, from a social perspective, speaking with a solipsist, and maybe I've been there, and maybe that's why I'm able to say this. It's extremely boring and repetitive to the people within that person's gravitational well.
I'm sorry.
And I'm here voluntarily to let you know.
I'm sorry for everybody else. I'm sorry for everybody else, but I'm having a ball.
Certainly, and that's part of the trap.
Well, I'm crazy. I'm deluded.
Oh,
I am like Salieri at the end of the movie Amadeus, going around just,
And consider what Salieri did to Mozart.
Yes.
So is that the fate? Do you want to be a Salieri? Do you want that to be the end of your life?
Boy, Salieri was definitely very strong in the idea of God. He felt that God. He felt that God. Just to think about this, the delusion of Salieri. He felt that God. First, he believed in God, which is normal in those days, but he believed that God cheated him because he was a believer. He was a good man, and God gave that dissolute son of a bitch, a womanmonger or a womenmonger, the very thing that he wanted, which was the absolute beauty of music, to be in union with God, because that's the way he saw music, the connection to God. And of course he was completely deluded, to me, to begin with, is because he did believe that there was such a God that would make such a blunder, of giving the bad guy the ultimate beauty of being able to do music like that. He felt like God was wrong. So he believed in God and he questioned God. He was completely crazy. Because if you do believe in God, then you have to accept that, hey, everything he does is right. So I better take the shit that he dishes out to me.
So,
And,
so
you
one
know,
one of the things about when you start getting into God belief is which one, and
which God?
which one? Because that you see that throughout the course of the Christian script. Yeah, which God? Because it's very easy to fall for a fake, a substitute, an idol, something that is less than, that doesn't have a
Absolutely, yeah.
mind, that doesn't have any thoughts, that's just
Yeah.
man created. And we
If you
can
believe-
create
yeah.
our concepts of God is a man created construct.
If you believe, you already created a concept.
Well, okay,
The fact
so
that we
there's
cannot
okay.
see it and measure it,
So
we're
so there's
already
the
imagining.
universe, and there's the model of the universe within our head, the simulation, right?
Yes, yes.
And if God isn't like blowing you away with the universe itself directly, then that thing that's in your head that you think is God is but an idol created a concept.
Very
But if
dangerous.
that concept, if you go out and you see this, oh my goodness, this beautiful sky, and you're like blown back by that because the beauty is intense and overwhelming and superior to anything that you yourself could have come up on your own with, then that's the difference of the experience. There's the concept of an idol versus the real.
See, that feeling of oneness, this peak experience, can be had without interposing the idea of belief in God, because it's a belief. You don't see it, you don't touch it, you don't measure it. It's completely non-tangible, intangible, non-material, non-phenomenal. I don't need to put between the sky and my feeling of incredible oneness, this experience of being one with all. I don't need to interpose the idea of God between me and the sky and the feeling of infinity and eternity. As a matter of fact, the more I thought about it, because I used to believe that, the more I thought about it, the more I had to take out the idea of that ghost between me and the sky, and me and reality, and me and you.
I'm reading, you say you like poetry. I'm reading Micah chapter 6. In that chapter,
you know, all I'm doing, I am not denying the existence of the infinite and eternal and almighty and all that. I just give it a different name, different characteristics. I just take the middleman out. Let's put it that way. Between the mind, between the verb and itself.
Well, you're becoming the middleman. And
yes,
the
yes,
end result, the functional end result of becoming the middleman is essentially to serve the force that will lead to Mozart's death.
Well, I haven't killed anybody yet.
No, you don't have to directly.
I don't feel envious. I don't feel envious about anybody. But yes, it is true. I've taken out the middleman. I became it. Instead of thinking about it or inventing it or pray into it, I became it, and now I took the middleman out. So I am the end product, the in between, and the beginning product. I am now the Alpha and the Omega.
So, and I know that you infected years and years ago Jairo, because he uses I am in his profile to this group.
So all these discussions I always undertake them with utmost respect, compassion, and understanding. Although I disagree on the perspectives, we have different perspectives. I understand and respect any other perspective. But this is good because, again, like you were saying, I try to poke holes into my own worldview, see if I can say, hey, well, I'm wrong. This doesn't make any sense. So it's an ongoing dynamic process, which is also very pleasant. I enjoy it very much. It's better than watching the news for sure.
Are you having a peak experience?
I am a peak experience. People ask a lot, do you meditate? And I say, no, I'm a walking meditation. So I am a peak experience. I am it.
Is
I
it
am it.
an oceanic feeling of oneness that everything is perfect as it is?
When you identify with the whole, and you know that the whole is eternal, infinite, then immediately you feel you have transcended your own identity, your own body, your own mind, your own understanding, your own everything. And this is always at the essential level, not at the, because of course I cannot fly away like a Superman, and I cannot be in your mind or in your head or anywhere. But this is an understanding about the essence of any phenomenon, not every phenomenon.
Are
That
you
it
in
goes beyond.
constant ataraxia, eudaimonia?
Yes. Essentially, yes. That doesn't mean that I'm not a human being worrying about paying bills and how I'm going to change the tires tomorrow. But I have transcended that understanding, and now I am seeing through those events, those phenomena, those things at the trivial, mundane level, and I am just seeing through them. It's what they call in the Zen Wu Wei, doing without doing or non-doing.
Or Tao?
Mm-hmm. Rami
Yes,
has a question.
Rami.
Well, has anyone here studied the life of Salvador Dali? We have a museum here.
Yes, yes,
All right.
yes.
So,
yes.
so two things. Salvador Dali, he was an absolute monster to his sister.
Yes. And to his
Someone
parents.
asked him, "Are you on drugs?" And Salvador Dali's response was, "I am drugs."
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yes.
Hmm.
So I studied Dali a lot. I still listen to him because you see in Dali, you see this individual that is seeing through things. Actually, you can see it in the way he draws and he paints and he talks. I mean, you have to listen to him. This guy was an interesting character. He was extremely intelligent, very well read. And at the same time, he had that aura of delusion. Actually, he liked to portray himself as crazy because that brought him more money and more attention. He was very centered on money. But you can see in his madness a lot of this essential thinking, this transcendental thinking. And that didn't make him a good man. Mind you, it didn't make him a good man in the Christian sense, in a mindful, humanistic sense. He had his addictions to money and fame, and he did anything in his power to do that. But in doing so, he also revealed his side, where he had a pretty good idea of what we're talking about, which is this transcendence of human consciousness that almost pokes through the phenomenal side of reality and has a bit of a sense of what non-being is, the non-phenomenal or the noumenal side of being.
Was
So
he into like dreams and maybe Carl Jung and things like that?
by the way, he was absolutely fervent in his belief in God, and his obsession was death and ended up in hell. So in him, the strong belief, the magical thinking in God was a very strong factor in his being and
Or
in what he
maybe
did.
he
But he was a
used
pain in the ass. He was a
or
pain in
maybe
the
he
ass as a
used
person.
Christian mythology in his paintings a lot.
Also, yeah, he
But
Jesus and God were all over the place.
he put a
in
lot of
his-
twists into it.
Consider it could be stated that that Satan was absolutely obsessed with God.
Yeah.
Also, it could be stated that atheists who rail against an and who enter into debates with God are in their own way obsessed also in their railing.
Yeah. Yes, of course. If any worldview is an obsession, you can call that. I mean, every mind, every
No,
consciousness.
not all. Not all.
Well,
Some.
but any world, any view is a view. And then how you rate it as obsessed or non-obsessed. This brings a very good question, and this is part of the psychology of this peak experience. That I propose that human consciousness. Let's talk about us, because we can't talk about mosquitoes. We don't know their lives very well, or at least we know their lives, but we don't know how they think. But we know how we think. I talk to you, any of the three of you, and I pretty have a good idea what we think pretty much alike. But any human consciousness is can be described as a dipole between attraction and repulsion. So we seek pleasant experiences, and we run away from unpleasant experiences, and we are constantly bouncing back and forth, because in reality, pleasant and unpleasant are two extremes. So it is the extremes that get us, not the fact that it's pleasant or unpleasant. And what you said there about atheists that are adamant about their fighting the idea of God or whatever, is the description of this dipole, in which every mind is a bit of a prisoner, where it is not what we seek or what we run from that is good or bad, but it is the intensity with which our mind is affected by this attraction or repulsion. So, for example, somebody likes to eat, has attraction towards food, no big deal. But somebody that is bulimic has a problem. And it's the intensity with which they cannot resist eating and overeating that is the problem, that creates the problem. On the other side, you can find a lot of stuff, phobias and stuff, that it's not the object itself, like a spider or heights, is the intensity with which you are repelled from it. So in talking about God, the existence of God or the non-existence of God, or any other subject, social injustice, taxes, the attack on the Capitol, or whatever, it is the intensity of the attraction or the repulsion that creates the problem.
So everything you just said was, you were talking about passion.
Yes. Impulsivity, irrationality, emotionality, the impulses of the animal. We talk in the brain that we have the reptilian brain with the mammalian brain, and then the human brain, the really develop a prefrontal cortex, where we rationalize, we logisticize, we perspectivize, etc.
Yes, we know all this, Luis. Let's hear it, Jairo.
Do these anomalies in the dipole and causing ataraxia or imbalance or
suffering,
mental
dukkha,
issues,
suffering, stress, anxiety?
Do these can these be overcome by a change in a worldview? Like, for example, if we were to have taken Salvador Dali and changed his worldview to become atheistic, would that have cured his tendencies to treating people badly and to trying to give the impression that he's a madman and do these things? Or because of his worldview, if he hadn't have had that worldview, then he wouldn't have produced such great work?
So some would say that if you remove God or religion, then the problems would go away. But 20th century has taught us, for instance, by the Soviet Union, that that is not the case, because the problem is within us. It's not God, or it can't necessarily be. I mean, it can be alleviated by letting go of passions, but then you're not really living much.
But the worldview that was imposed on the people under a totalitarian, dictatorial government that was trying to force things to happen quickly, and so they figured that the religion was the opium, so they kind of forced it, but they pretended to go along, or else they would get killed. So it was not a real change in worldview, because they ended up going back to becoming Christian in the end. So maybe forcing to change the worldview didn't work in that case. But we're gradually changing our worldview to being more scientific and less dependent on supernatural explanations. So isn't that similar? Isn't that going to benefit us all in the end?
If I am the
benefits
problem,
us in terms of technological advancement, but
If-
it doesn't solve the human problem.
see, Rami, my first response to that is, if I am the problem, I'm also the solution.
Okay,
Because if I am the problem and I cannot be the solution, there's a tyrant telling me what to do and how to do it.
I'm not here to be an external locus of control.
Right. I'm
what-
internal locus of
what-
control. Yes.
What it is, though, what the Christian faith provides for us is a mechanism, and it's not just, this isn't unique to Christianity. You find this throughout many world religions, and in slightly different ways, but I'll speak within that context because it's the one I'm most familiar with. The idea of sin, which is that which misses the mark, is separable from the sinner. So you do not have to condemn the sinner. The sinner can turn from that which misses the mark. They can repent. They can change their mind and become open to a new way of seeing the world.
Can you do that without a religion?
Well, I'm going to echo Jesus when he starts his preaching ministry. He goes to the street corner and he says, change your way of thinking, repent, let go of the old, because the kingdom of heaven is
Right.
at hand.
If
It's
Jesus
right
came down from heaven today, unbeknownst to you, and you met him in the corner of the street,
Mhm,
and he looked at you,
mhm,
some guy out there with a beard or without a beard, doesn't matter,
right.
and he told you, hey, repent, change the ways of are you going to say, well, this is Jesus, or is this a crazy guy?
Well, that's a cause for you to think, and already you did, right? So you took it from the approach: is this Jesus or is this a crazy guy? What Jesus said was, and actually, when you do see a guy on the corner saying repent, that I mean, you might want to through his words and through his actions. You don't necessarily know very much about the guy, but at Pentecost, 50 days after Jesus ascended to heaven, he sent his helper, his spirit. The helper is how he describes. We often refer to him as the Holy Spirit, but that spirit is what binds these people who would be labeled Christians, and what they're doing is being the body of Christ upon the earth, sharing the same message that Jesus shared with his own disciples unto the ends of the earth.
Could you see me as some other guy that's saying, hey, consider the following?
There have been so many of you, Luis, throughout time.
I'm less pushy than Jesus, in the sense that I don't tell you, hey, you have to repent, you have to think like this, or you got to
Wait, say that again. You said you're less?
less
what?
pushy,
pushy.
less.
Jesus isn't pushy. He's rather gentle, but he is very direct.
That's for sure. But
He's
I am much
honest.
more indirect. I'm much more
He
indirect.
he speaks the
Yeah.
truth and within contexts, within time. So
Yeah.
you say if Jesus came to the earth, well, Jesus did come to the earth. There's plenty of people who deny Jesus' existence, Jesus' mission, so on and so forth, and whatever.
All I'm doing here is a little bit like Jesus. I'm coming around and sharing my views, and I'm saying, hey, consider the following.
Yes, you've made disciples.
Only one so far. So it's just again. So the question that going back to Jairo's question, if Dali had not been a fervent believer, a faithful of God and Jesus and the Holy Mary and everything, would it have made him a better person? You immediately said that the problem, we are the problem, and it is Christianity that saves us and makes us better.
No, it's not Christianity that saves us. No religion saves us.
Faith, what is that save us?
You're closer to it when you say faith.
Okay, so if he didn't have faith, would that make Dali better? He would.
We don't know that he had faith. He had knowledge.
If I had to guess, he was a neurotic, selfish, impossible, insufferable person.
Sure.
So it would have taken much more than not having faith to make him
you're making
into
the assumption that he had faith in Christ. What he had was knowledge of God. Even demons have knowledge of God. Okay.
This guy was a Catholic, apostolic, Roman. So
you got to be careful with apostolic.
Well,
I'm not sure if you're using it in the way that's the common usage of the word.
But you can pretty much know that Dali believed in Jesus, the Son of God, the Holy Trinity, and everything
Sure.
in the Catholic
believe
faith.
In terms of having knowledge of. So Satan has knowledge of Jesus, right? And the issue is,
do you do anything about it?
If Dali
right?
if Dali had no religious upbringing or training, or didn't exist in the state that he was in, or have any religious knowledge, or however you want to say indoctrination, he would still have been the asshole to his sister.
More than likely.
He would have still terrorized her. So the problem indeed does exist within the human being. And the Christian system says that assholeness, that assholiness,
comes from the lack of faith.
It's not the complete person. The complete person is great. Is the complete person, and the behavior can be removed from the person if the person repents, turns from the behavior, and says, here's my behavior. Here's my confession. I have been an asshole. I have been this horrible person who's done these horrible things, and it's hurt others, and it's made me sick, and I'm turning away from that, and God help me, shape me into no longer being the person who carries, who hurts people, who does this asshole type behavior.
Can you not do that without having to have a change in faith? Let's say that you never believed a darn thing, and that you were a perfectly acting intentions and actions and everything. You can do the same thing without having to convert.
None of us are. As far as we know, only one person has been. I've got to go. My wife is calling me. Have a good one. We'll leave it at that. Good morning, good day, good week.
Keep getting better, Mr.
To be continued next week. It's very interesting. Thank you,
Rami. A thing of
Rami.
beauty. Hey, we got you entertained for a couple hours.
It was good.
It was good. It was good.
Thank you very much.
Listen, keep getting better. Move around. Try not to stay in bed too much.
It was a very interesting conversation, very cordial, and very enlightening. And we covered a lot of things, and we got into the existence or non-existence of God, and whether religion or what does it do for man, and is there a way to do it without religion, or is there
Or is it better to do
religion
it with? Is it
is a
better to do
religion
it
a
without religion?
worldview?
Yeah. Is
Is a religion like a worldview?
is faith
Is
in religion a tyranny, just
does,
like any other
does
political tyranny?
changing does changing the worldview affect a person to change their
His
way,
actions.
or does just realizing that one is doing something wrong, is that enough?
Yeah,
You can keep
yeah.
your worldview, but maybe
Change
seek
your
help.
actions. Yeah.
I don't know.
Very good. I think this is this has a lot of traction. I hope a lot of people enjoy it. The 3 or 4 that I want to watch it. Ooh, that's good. You're cleaning up there. You're cleaning the airways. Listen, try to move around a little bit. Don't spend your time in bed there. All right.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Keep getting better. You're looking better. You lost a lot of weight. That's great. Look at that. You
Yeah.
look like a teenager.
Oh, that's because I shaved. That's what it was.
And but you're not eating. You're not eating a lot of crap either.
Yes, I'm getting well fed here. It seems healthy. I get to order what I want, or they call me to see what do you want for lunch, what do you want for dinner, what do you
Yeah.
want for breakfast.
All right,
Right.
buddy. Listen, keep getting better. You call me every day or give me an update every
All
day.
right. Thank
Don't keep
you.
me in the dark.
All right. Thanks.
According to our friends, I'm dark enough already because I have the audacity of calling myself God. I love you.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to end this meeting and I'm going to upload it as soon as I can to YouTube. Wake up and think clearly. Bye.